So welcome, whether this is your first time or 10th time or 20th time or whatever, to these monthly Zoom calls. So the normal practice that I've been adopting for these is to start off with a meditation, which I'll guide you with for 10-15 minutes. And there may be an inquiry that comes up in that, and if you're not familiar with that, don't try and answer any inquiry that I put into it mentally. Just be with it, and if something emerges, great, and if something doesn't, that's absolutely fine. Just be with it. Also, again, if you're new to my meditations, whilst I might use some visual imagery or things that you might think of as visual imagery in the guidance, I'm not inviting you or asking you to try to visualize those things. In fact, I just want you to literally be with it. So when I use a term spheres of light, don't try and envisage what that looks like. Just be with that, just be open to that. Same with infinite silence and anything else that sounds like a visual metaphor. So just literally go with the guidance. So with that brief announcement made, let's get started and just get yourselves comfortable and just gently closing your eyes. And just simply, silently, becoming aware of whatever's here now. That may be physical sensations, breath, emotions, feelings, thoughts. Just simply, silently and effortlessly witness those. Just like you're watching a movie from the inside. Just simply watching, non-judgmentally, whatever's here now. Nothing you have to do, just watch. And as you watch and witness, just be open from your heart. To connecting with the energy I call spheres of light. And we'll just be silent now. And this energy of spheres of light is the same as the pure universal state. I am pure being. A non-personal I am. And this too can be seen, sensed, or witnessed from a deeper presence. That I call the silent witness in infinite silence. Silently merging with this witnessing presence. That simply watches without judgment. And this silent witnessing presence is a bit like a sliver of ice in an ocean of water, and it's melting. Dissolving. Effortlessly, silently, becoming one with the ocean. And the ocean is an ocean of infinite silence. Infinite awareness. Simply, silently, effortlessly aware. In silence, you will realize truth. In truth, you will realize you are silence. Infinite silence. Infinite awareness. In silence, we trust. Be still and know this silence, awareness. All that I am is infinite silence, is all that am I. And now just be open to this inquiry. Who am I without or before mind? Who am I without or before mind. And just rest with that. Just simply be still and know this silence, awareness, presence, unchanging, unmoving, untouched essence. In a moment, I'll tap the singing bowl and just keep your eyes closed for a while longer. And as the sound fades to silence, simply remaining aware, aware of the chair you're sat in or whatever you may be lay on. Aware of the space, aware of your body. And when the time is right for you, just simply, silently, effortlessly open your eyes, knowing that this awareness is ever present. Good. Good. So, the format though now for those who are new is we have the opportunity to share or ask questions. So I can see that Lydia's written something in the comments. That was lovely. So I'm glad that you enjoyed that, Lydia. So this is an opportunity, whether you want, if you've got an inquiry question that's here for you, whatever's here for you now, you're looking to explore, something came up for you in the meditation, or something that's going on for you on your spiritual journey, please just let me know. You can put up your hand. I can see Dhiraj has got something to share, so if you want to unmute yourself.
Hello, Philip.
Hi.
So, I want to share that nowadays, during the meditation, when I sit, the breath increases at very fast pace, and coughings and other things happen, and it is scary.
What was scary?
Mm, the breath increases and it doesn't stops. It
Okay.
automatically happens.
The breath, did you say?
Is that the breath?
Yes, for
The
breath.
breath
Yes, for long time.
Oh, the breath. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Breath.
he coughs as well. He's coughing as well, and it's
Okay.
scary.
Right.
Things come up and vomiting sensation, so many things, and
Okay.
it happens a lot during the meditation. It's settled, but it gets active a lot nowadays.
Okay. Even during normal activities.
Yes, even sitting and during my day also, the
Okay.
anxiety type of thing,
Right. Okay.
and scary thoughts also
Scary thoughts.
come up.
Did you say scary thoughts?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, is there anything else, or did you want to say any more?
It happens automatically. If it like there's not my much control over there.
Right. Not control. Okay.
Like yoga also it happens, but very turbidity one.
So I didn't catch that last bit.
Turbid. It is very turbid and rough.
Okay. Right. And this is happening generally, but did it settle a bit in the meditation? Did you say?
Yes, yes,
Okay. Okay. So, shall I offer some respond to that now, Dhiraj?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, William.
Yeah. So, obviously, I'm not qualified medically, so there may be something going on there that you perhaps need to investigate. But from a purely spiritual perspective, and I can't remember whether you've been on or are about to go on a Vipassana meditation retreat, aren't you?
Yes, yes.
Have you already been on one, did you say? Or
No, no, no.
not yet? Okay.
I will go.
You will be going. So, on the spiritual journey, from a purely spiritual perspective, it's not unusual for things to arise like of the type you're describing. And the reason that, from a purely spiritual perspective, just setting aside the medical things at the moment, which you might need to investigate, is that right from a very early age, even to some degree when we're in the womb, conditioning is happening, whether it's from the vibrations we're picking up from our parents or from what we've experienced in a previous life. That's possible, by the way. But we've experienced conditioning, and it's all based around a belief in what I call a case of mistaken identity, that all I am is this body-mind, when in truth you're much greater than that. The body-mind experience is like a car. It's something that you have. You might have a car, but you're not your car. Now that belief that this is all you are creates an experience of separation, a polarity, and that creates the polarities that we call love and fear. And through childhood, young adulthood and so forth, that sense of inner separation is at the root of all suffering, and it all comes from that case of mistaken identity, the belief that all I am is this body-mind. And it gets, the emotional body gets formed from that, or sometimes referred to as the pain body. And that's like, it's held, the energetic imprint, the vibrational imprint of that is held within the physical body and held in the cellular memory. And ultimately, that is the root cause of all our, if you like, ailments. There's other things I can go into more deeply from previous lives, but I'll just park that for the moment. And when one starts to open to awareness, to stillness and silence, and I know that you've been on a previous retreat with us, Dhiraj, and you've also been on a few of the Zoom calls and so forth, and I'm guessing that you're meditating at home and stuff like that as well. Then as one starts to deepen into awareness, it can be surprising for some that stuff like this, scary things, emotions, thoughts, feelings, sensations, you mentioned about a physical sense of sickness and so forth, these things and more can all arise. Now that happens is because you're starting to touch awareness, starting to touch silence, and that which is held energetically in the body can't withstand the light of that awareness, and it comes up to be felt, to be seen. Now, the most common reaction to that is that people want to run away from it. They're scared by it, or they want it to go away, or whatever. And actually, from a purely spiritual perspective now, setting aside the medical things, which we'll come back to in a moment, from a purely spiritual perspective, that is what I refer to as an invitation. It's an invitation to look directly from the space of awareness, silence, at whatever's arising, say an emotion, a sensation, a scary thought, a feeling of fear, and simply, without any judgment, accept that it's there, feel it, and watch it. And that process of watching it from the space of awareness without any judgment is the power of that awareness and silence is such that it will transmute, dissolve that fear, that sensation, that emotion into love. And the simple example I like to give of that is every phenomena, whether it's being a feeling of sickness, a scary emotion, a scary thought, is simply a vibration expressed. Now, if this singing bowl here is a vibration, just close your eyes, folks, whilst I do this, including you, Dhiraj, and just notice what happens. I'm going to do that one more time, a bit louder this time. Now what happened there? First there was no sound from the singing bowl. I tapped it, there was a crescendo, a peak. It rose to a wave, it could even be a tsunami. And because I wasn't continuing to tap it, it faded to silence. And you all of you were aware of that happening. The same process is true for self-realization, for true meditation, is that these phenomena, scary thoughts, emotions, sensations in the body, are all vibrations. And by simply and silently accepting them, witnessing them, and watching them without any judgment, they will fade. And they will fade because they're embraced and enfolded within the power of silent awareness. Not because of anything that you're doing as an identity, but because there's a deep trust placed in the power of silent awareness. And that's all ultimately meditation is about, and self-realization or enlightenment is about, is recognizing, realizing experientially that notwithstanding all of the beliefs, the thoughts and so forth, that actually you have always been and will always be this infinite silence or infinite awareness, which are one and the same thing. So from a purely spiritual perspective, when these things arise, they're showing you something that's being held energetically within the body, and it's an invitation to simply allow that to be there, watch it, witness it, and trust the process. And the more that you, more deeply that you trust the process, the quicker and easier that transition is. If you resist it, fight it, start analysing it, all that does is heightens and extends that process. Now, I've mentioned medical things. If there's something fundamentally medically wrong with you, then obviously that you need to get that investigated. But I'm talking here purely from a purely spiritual perspective. This is going to happen, and it's actually an essential and integral part of the process. Self-realization isn't all fluffy bunny, but the process of dissolving and resolving the emotional pain body, the case of mistaken identity, the more that happens, the deeper into awareness you will be, the less frequent these issues are going to arise, the more deeply you will go, and the more consistently you will be at peace. So from a purely spiritual perspective, this is not unusual. This happens. And people people may have a very heavy pain body to slightly lesser pain bodies and so forth. For some it can be deeply traumatic. From others it can be, relatively speaking, lighter. But it's a really unusual being that isn't carrying something in their emotional body. And this part of the process is the dissolution of that, ultimately without any effort on your part. And this basically comes to the purpose of all spiritual practice. The purpose of all spiritual practice, in the end, is so you don't have to practice at being who you really are. We transcend the practice and we recognize and realize that we are this unchanging, silent awareness. And then everything else simply fades and dissolves in front of that. You'll still have this body and things that go with it, and things may still go a bit awry in life, but now you won't be perturbed by them or disturbed by them. You can just trust the power of awareness. So it could be, Dhiraj, that these things are arising because of that you've been touching awareness deeply over a period of time now. There may be something else more fundamental that you need to perhaps look at, so obviously investigate that if that's the case. But from a purely spiritual perspective, all of these things are invitations to be dissolved and resolved through the power of awareness. And the more that you just allow that to be, even as we're talking here now, just watching, allowing without judgment. And you said at one point it settled a bit during the meditation. That's not surprising to me, because the more that one trusts and deepens into awareness, the more that you're less focused on analysing, judging, being the emotion, being the sensation of sickness or whatever. Rather, you're just simply recognising that you're the witness. And that's only going to result in one thing, is a deepening and settling. Is this making sense to you, Dhiraj?
Yes, Philip, it is.
Good. How are you doing just now?
It is settled right now. During the talk, it again happened automatically, but it again settled.
Good. So the good bit there from what you've just shared with me is because you were paying a lot of attention, focused on the pointing, and there's a degree of trust that's being placed in that. Even though it sounded like another wave arose, that also settled. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Philip.
And that happened because you were much more focused and centered on being present and aware, as opposed to fighting off whatever it was that was arising or being in the mind about it. So this power that I'm talking about is your very essence. And in this, at one point in the meditation, I said, in silence we trust. Those few words there, in silence we trust, 4 words, profoundly important. Silence is always present, unchanging, unmoving. And the more that we trust that trust becomes an experiential knowing that we are that. So whenever anything comes up, a phenomena, a thought, a feeling, an emotion, see it for what it is an invitation. Watch it. Trust awareness. It dissolves. Okay for you, Dhiraj?
Yes, yes, Philip. Thank you.
Anything else you wanted? Is that okay for now?
Yes, Philip.
Good. Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, anybody else got anything burning that they want to ask or share? I can only see part of the screen here, so let me just have a... I can see a bit more now. So, Helan. So there you are. Helan, did you have something? I thought. No, maybe not. The hand's gone down. Lydia then. Lydia.
Helan, you forgot to unmute yourself.
She needs to unmute Helen.
Okay, so let's go with Lydia now.
I got it. Hello, everybody.
Right, okay.
Sorry.
So Lydia next then. Lydia next. Go on, Helan.
So I decided to take notes this time to just write down my experience. The first thing that happened to me was my ears began to pop. We're just popping air like you're in turbulence. I was yawning, but not tired. Constantly throughout it. It was like, trying to get this yawn out, you know. And then I had a bit of a cough, like needed something out of my system, you know. Something needed to come out. Like it wasn't part of me, but it needed to come out of me.
Sure.
I felt healing in progress. I've had a bit of a sore shoulder, but I just felt some pressure put onto that area, particularly. Then the word came up into my mind, into my thoughts. Namaste. Good. and the word, the meaning in that in Greek, which is my heritage, abbreviates to what came to my mind was the we are willing, we will, we are.
We are
and
willing.
When you say, yes, we are willing, we will, we are. When we're abbreviating the Greek language, it can be abbreviated in 10 different ways sometimes. So that's what some of the abbreviations are. We are willing, we will, and we are.
Okay.
When you said becoming one, what came to my mind was letting go. Effortlessly aware. When you had mentioned that, I had watery eyes, but not crying. And the words repair, repair, repair came repeatedly. When you mentioned in silence, we trust. I felt I was being delivered a message to hear more. Hear more. When you mentioned who am I before mind, I began to, my body began to sway from left to right. And then my whole body shaking when the bell rang. Towards the end, my right hand was shaking, twitching on my right pinky. Almost pain, really the sharp, hard twitches. Whole body shaking. And at the end, the word that appeared to me was awakening.
Good.
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Is there a question in any of that, or shall I just respond to the...
I think just responding, yeah.
Good, okay. So quite a lot there. But all good from what I see and hear. You know, this, I particularly liked the repeating of that. Because if you just look at that word repair, it's like a coming together, a pairing. You know that term we use, pairing things. You pair a device, don't you, with something, but you're pairing with the silence, if you like. Becoming one with that. If you like, resetting to factory settings as an analogy I sometimes use for self-realization. You know, you have that when you get a device, you can reset to factory settings. Resetting to factory settings from a self-realization perspective is recognizing, realizing that you are in fact this awareness, this silence. All these phenomena going on in the body, you know, like that healing process you talked about, the pressure on your shoulder, the stuff in the throat and the popping and so forth, and the kind of sensations in the hand. All these phenomena and more, and the shaking can happen. And I think you talked about coughing as well, like something was coming out of you.
Yeah.
This is also not an uncommon experience. These are all these things are kind of like this. As you identify more and more with all that you are as the body mind, it's like a tightness, a contraction. And the body, as you deepen into awareness, is looking to release all this. And this can manifest in a multitude of ways: coughing, shaking, crying, laughter, emotions, heat, coolness. All of these things can happen, and if you just allow those things to happen, the body will naturally and effortlessly release all those things. I particularly like the derivation from the Greek also. You know, we will, we are, and we will be. That is a good. That's a kind of nice capturing of the essence of that, and the essence of self-realization, and the word namaste. So this is all good from where I sit, Helan. It's just embrace it. Just embrace it. Let it all happen. The more you trust awareness, the more you deepen into awareness, the more you recognize you are awareness. Yes, these phenomena will come up to be seen and dissolved, but let that happen. And it'll just take you deeper and deeper each time. Is that all good
Beautiful.
for you?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. So let's go to Lydia, who I thought we were going to, but then you managed to unmute. So
yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you. Yeah, that was lovely. I mean, I felt some really nice kind of energy going through my body. And yeah, it wasn't busy.
yeah.
But what happened was, a couple of times while I was quite deep, I think, I felt like there were two instances where I felt like the presence of friends, or saw them, and it was if they wanted to talk to me, but I was like, oh no, you're not supposed to be here. So I kind of blanked it out. But I'm actually wondering if that happened again, whether I might just kind of see if I could make a connection there, maybe find something out, or almost like say hello. Because it felt quite nice that they were there.
Good.
So, and I kind of got the sense it would just have been something quite brief, maybe, between us. But because I was kind of thinking, oh no, this has got to be kind of empty, silent. I was a bit like, oh no, you're not supposed to be here. So I just ignored it really, and it passed. But perhaps another time I might quite like to engage if.
So is that a question or?
Yeah, it is a question.
Okay. So I don't think it's either wrong or right, but the key thing with meditation, there could be many phenomena occur: visuals, auditory, smell, you name it. All these things can arise, and there'll be a reason behind why this friend or friends popped into awareness. The key thing with it isn't to necessarily engage with it mentally or to try to kick it out, as some people sometimes, that's cropped up a few times on these calls. It just simply accept that it's there.
Right.
A kind of neutral interest, if you like. Just, oh, okay, whatever's here is here. And you simply witness it, looking at it directly without trying to analyze it, why it's there from the mind. Just be. And if there's some insight, message, in whatever form, whether it's auditory, visual, a feeling, a knowing, or whatever, just by that pure witnessing, that will emerge.
Okay.
You don't need to do anything with it, try and think about it. Just simply let it be there. Watch the phenomena. Trust only the awareness. And whatever it is that's meant to transpire from that will naturally arise.
Right.
And it won't be because it's coming from the mind. It will be an arising from the space of awareness. And that's much more reliable, because your mind, what you call your mind, only sees a small part of the picture.
Yeah.
Whereas the awareness, the silence, sees the totality.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this so carry on.
Yeah, I was just going to say the only other thing that was quite noticeable was I just did massive big sighs. I think I just found it really relaxing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kept happening, which was really actually very nice.
Good. And I think Helan mentioned something similar actually. And this is not uncommon. The sighs, the kind of relaxation process is one of the first things that happens when you start to go into true meditation, the true meditative space. Because most of the time, most people are kind of tensed up. There's some tension there. There's some, and the body, as you deepen into awareness, will respond to that. And it may come out as a sigh, it may come out as a yawn, as it did for Helan, or whatever. But that relaxation process, again, there's even that is being noticed, being observed. So just let all of that happen. Let all of that happen.
Yeah.
And you'll just go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Lydia. Anything else you want to ask or share?
No, but that was really helpful to chat that through. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good. So, is anybody else burning with anything?
Hi, Philip.
Oh, hi, Ben. Yeah.
Hi, Philip. Yeah, it's just something I've been thinking about this week. Sensory perceptions. So all the things that I see, hear, touch, taste, and so on are not me because I'm the one seeing them.
Yeah.
So my question is, can we exist without bodily form? So, for example, life after death, is there a formless realm? Is there such a thing as existing without these sensory?
Sure. Okay, good question. Deep question.
Okay.
So, can we exist without phenomena? In essence. So this really kind of goes to the heart of self-realization, because if I just sort of give you a summary of it first, then I'll give you a bit more insight. If all there was the absolute, which is infinite silence, the infinite awareness, the infinite consciousness, and there was no domain of beingness and no domain of physical form, then silence, awareness is all that there would be, and there would be no contrast, no time, no space, no form, no anything. The mind cannot grasp because it's so identified with phenomena. So the universe, if you like, source, essence, silence, God, if you must use that term, these are all the same thing, by the way, comes to know itself in its own experience. And so it creates the experience of dividing itself up into infinite variety. And one of those expressions is in the form of Ben. And in that process, it creates the experience of time, space, form, being, and contrast. And that all of that gets projected into the essence that what you call Ben. And that gifts itself. That process gifts itself the opportunity to come to know itself in its own experience. Because what that does essentially is it gives this I'm not that is a projection, an appearance on the green screen of consciousness. Just like in the movies, you have green screens that they use for special effects, say like in Harry Potter flying on a broomstick or whatever. He's not actually flying on a broomstick, but it just, because they've used a green screen and they've projected that, it looks like the experience. Now the universe is like a multi-dimensional green screen, and all of it is appearing in front of or within awareness. And this is the way that the universe comes to know itself in its own experience. So the purpose of the phenomena is to go on this journey to come to this realization. What typically happens is the phenomena gets projected outwards. You identify with the phenomena, I am the body-mind. You create the experience of separation from your essence. You suffer. At some point in your life you go, there must be more to life than this, and you start an inward journey. And eventually you come to the realization that you never left home. You were always this awareness, silence. You just forgot. You had the experience of forgetting. And this actually is also ultimately the ultimate purpose of suffering. It's an entry point into realization. So the phenomena, the finite domain of phenomena, is one with, not separate from, the infinite domain. The finite and the infinite are one indivisible whole. You will, in the infinite, the finite appears, and within the finite, the infinite is also there. It is enfolded, and they are intrinsically one. Without this finite and the infinite, without silence and sound, there would just simply be silence absolute. So the phenomenal world is actually very, very important. Now, you also mentioned then about life after death. Is there a formless realm? Well, that's a whole that's like a whole book in itself. But briefly, there are multiple realms. You've got a biblical quote there on your screen. I am that I am. Another one is, in my house there are many mansions. What that is pointing to is the multidimensional nature of the universe. And basically, yes, we have this physical realm, we get identified with that and we suffer, but we also have the opportunity to come to the realization. But there are other realms, briefly: astral, causal, and the realm of infinite silence. And these are like spheres within spheres. You know, like Russian dolls. So the physical realm is a contraction. There's the astral realm, causal, the realm of infinite silence, which is infinite. If you thought of those as a visual, as spheres, very big spheres, like Russian dolls, then each realm is like a sphere within a sphere. And each of those realms are more and more rarefied. A term that came from the silence is the rarefied atmosphere of silence. So when your physical form passes, depending on what stage of the spiritual process one is at, then one will have a form in the astral realm. Depending on where one's at, one may reincarnate. You don't need to believe me on any of this, by the way, folks. It will become self-evident the deeper one goes. Or into the higher causal realms, then ultimately to the realm of silence, where all identification, attachment, belief, desire has completely and utterly dissolved. Now, as far as the universe is concerned, all of that is here now. All of that is here now. Now, this isn't about believing what you perceive the body-mind experience of Philip to be saying. This is about coming to the realization that you are the infinite silence, the infinite awareness, the infinite consciousness. And then you can accept whatever's appearing here in the body-mind experience of Ben completely and utterly, and be at peace. And then whatever needs to unfold beyond this realm, when the physical form of Ben passes, can naturally happen. So phenomena are very much part of the universe, the self as infinite silence, coming to know itself in its own experience. Here's a phrase for you. Enlightenment is the nature of existence. Enlightenment is the nature of existence. That means that our essence is already that. But the universe, if you like, has chosen to manifest and express itself in the form of Ben in order to come to know itself in its own experience. And it does that in unlimited variety because it's infinite. It doesn't place any limitations upon itself. Does that answer your question, Ben? Excuse me.
It does. Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking, who was it that said, I am, therefore? What was the quote? Was it Shakespeare?
I think that, therefore I am, you mean?
Yes, that's the one.
I can't remember who said that now, but
it was Descartes.
That's it, Descartes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Lydia. So yeah, so I'm experiencing, in order to arrive back home.
Yeah, indeed, it's part of the process. Descartes was slightly off there when he said, "I think, therefore I am," because thought is an appearance within awareness. One simply is anyway. Thought appears. So one of these streams, these earlier streams, we looked at the question, who am I before the I thought? So one is this even before the experience of linear time. So one simply is. And then the universe has this individual I thought that becomes Ben, and that then gets subdivided in a multitude of ways in the experience of Ben. And it does that with the Stefan I thought, and the Dhiraj I thought, and the Lydia I thought. But the question in this meditation, who am I before mind or without mind? The reason that's there, that question, is we're so used to this idea of mind, to my mind. That means to my belief. But what is this thing called mind? I have a video on my YouTube channel that it's a live stream actually, it's called Whose Mind Is It Anyway? Whose mind is it anyway? But briefly, you can think of what we call the mind as thought plus belief plus the energy of belief, or plus the weight of belief, equals mind. I'm separating that from a physical capacity that we have, or the intellect. That is different. You can have intelligence, intellect, without the experience of an identity mind. And actually, when you're out of your brilliant mind, just like that song in the 80s, you must be out of your brilliant mind. Was it Furniture or whatever? When one's out of mind and in awareness, what arises is insight and inspiration, and that feels very different to thought. So phenomena are very much part of the experience of self-realization, and recognizing that all phenomena are appearances within awareness. Is that okay, Ben?
Thank you, Philip. Yes, I've just posted that link for the Who Am I?
Oh, the live stream replay.
Live stream.
Yeah. Is that the whole live stream? Because there's also a shortened version of that.
It's the 37-minute one.
That's the one. Yeah, that's a shorter version, so that's the one to watch. The other video I was going to mention earlier, you might find this, Ben, when I was talking about the nested spheres in response to your question, like the Russian dolls. There's a live stream, and it's called Beyond Phenomena: From Awakening Experiences to absolute self-realization. And I talk at greater length in relation to your question, Ben, in that stream about that. And I can't remember the stream number, but I know you've got access to the channel, so you'll be able to find that.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you.
Okay, anything else for you, Ben?
No, that's wonderful. Thank you. A lot to ponder. Thank you.
Yeah. Good. So we're doing, time's moving on. Time's marching on. Anybody else got anything burning for them?
Got a hand up from Heather.
Okay, so let's go to Heather.
Sorry, I still can't figure out how to do the hand thing. I've been finding that when I'm happy, when something happens to me that makes me happy, when I feel connected to somebody or something like that, it's very difficult to meditate because it seems like my ego is saying, see, you're happy, you don't need anything more than this. And I cannot focus like for days and days, and I don't know what to do about that.
Okay, interesting one. So is it what we need to the key to understand here, Heather, is the difference between an event-based temporary state of happiness and what for the benefit of articulating this, expressing this, what I would call true joy and true peace and grace, which is not event-based. So typically in our lives we're conditioned into, everybody is, you know, I'll be happy when, so my friend has come to visit, or my parents are around, or my football team has scored a goal, or whatever, or when I've got my hair cut, you name it. We get some moment of a temporary state of happiness from that. But eventually it passes. You'll have had, everybody has experienced this. You know, your team concedes a goal, or your haircut appointment's cancelled, or your friend can't come round and now you're sad. Whatever it happens to be. So we flip between these opposites. And it's all event based. I'll be happy when, I'll be sad when. This is mind stuff. It's not wrong to have that experience of happiness when your friend's around or whatever. That's okay. It's part of the human experience. But if we're seeking true joy, true peace, our true nature, the end of suffering, and ultimately we're all here to realize that, then our invitation here is to notice these fluctuations, these waves, happiness, sadness, stress, calmness, waves in the ocean, based on opposites. The true joy, the true peace arises from if you like a flat line of pure awareness, pure stillness, pure silence. And the natural perfume of that silence, that awareness, we will use words like joy, peace, grace, gratitude, all for no reason. All for no reason. It's not that we're happy because some happy turn of events. It's simply that joy, peace, grace, gratitude, just like a rose has a perfume, has a natural perfume. The perfume experientially in the body of silence is joy, peace, grace. So the mind will try to deceive you, saying, well, I'm happy now, but conveniently forgetting that there was also sadness before that, or there'll be sadness when this event has come to a close. And so it will basically, like a false coin can deceive you, will deceive you into believing that this is it. It's not that this experience is wrong. There's nothing wrong with that experience. It's all part of the human experience. But the mind's assessment of it is at best incomplete and at worst completely misguided. So, irrespective of whatever's happening in life, you cannot trust what the mind is coming up with about it. What you can trust is the pure awareness, the pure stillness, the pure silence. And so, when we get that kind of thing, the mind's going, look, this, that and the other, coming up with, it will basically do everything within its power to convince you not to sit down, be still, not to meditate or whatever, when actually you are in fact a living meditation. Even this experience of, look, you don't need to sit down and bother meditating and all the rest of it, all of that is being seen by awareness. You're able to report it now here, Heather, as an experience that has transpired, maybe multiple times. What was aware of that happening? It was awareness. Was that awareness affected by the experience? Answer, no. It just observes it neutrally, silently, effortlessly. So going back to our question in the meditation, whose mind is it? Who am I before or without mind? The reason that question's there is to recognize that there is something, a presence, an essence, before the experience of mind. We can't trust in mind ultimately. It's so variable and so erratic. You can trust awareness. This doesn't mean that you throw out the baby with the bathwater and, discard everything in the physical domain, which some people do, and that's a mistake in itself. We embrace the physical experience, but are open to the realization that there's a deeper presence. We can't set aside the practicalities of living in the body. We must embrace that. You're invited to embrace it. It is part of the experience. It is part of the gift. So whatever mind has to say about the spiritual journey, it can't be trusted. Whatever awareness, silence, invites you, inspires you to see, you can. And the big difference between those two, energetically, mind will be must, should, ought to, justifying, contracting, controlling. The heart space of awareness, silence, will be inviting, uplifting, inspiring, effortless, graceful. Energetically, those feel very, very different, and that's how you tell the difference. Is this coming from awareness? Is this coming from mind? The difference is stark. Be discerning what is arising and which one you can trust. Does that help, Heather?
Yes, I just want to say that it's so much easier to meditate when you're feeling down, because it's so much, you feel better when you meditate. But when you're feeling great, it's like the mind is saying, who needs that? You know, this is, you know, it's not the same kind of motivation, if you know what I mean.
Okay, so ignore what the mind has to say about that and meditate anyway.
Okay.
And meditate anyway and see what happens.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, good. Good. Okay, folks, well, I think we're done. So I will see you next. I will email you all, give you the opportunity to attend next month. As I say, it'll be a day earlier. I'll probably have some further updates by that time. But other than that, enjoy the rest of your morning. It's early morning for Helan in Australia, afternoon if you're in America, like some of you are, or probably getting to like midnight or even after midnight for Dhiraj in India. So we've got people from all over the place. So wherever you are, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you, Philip.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Philip.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everyone.
Thank you.